Lieutenant Kira Voss tried to ignore the whispers as she entered the Galactic Military Academy lecture hall. That's her. She looks like a child. Humans live what? 80 cycles. She can't be more than 20. Command is desperate if they're sending infants to teach combat tactics. At 23, Kira was indeed young by galactic standards. The Valerie instructor she was replacing had been 340 years old. The 3 Nyx cadetses in the front row had been alive longer than human civilization had had spaceflight. She set her datapad on the podium and faced the auditorium. 200 alien cadets stared back, their expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed contempt. "Good morning," she said. "I'm Lieutenant Voss. I'll be teaching advanced combat theory and historical warfare for the next semester." A Crowan cadet built like a tank with armor plating and 4 arms raised a claw. "With respect, Lieutenant, what combat experience does a human your age possibly have?" Kussmite. She'd expected this. "That's an excellent question. Cadet Throck. Cadet Throck. Tell me, what do you know about the siege of Proximus Station?" Throck's plates shifted. The Crowan equivalent of a shrug. Basic history. A critical supply station. The Ravager clans tried to take it. They failed. They didn't just fail. Cadet. They were annihilated. 1,000 Ravager shock troops against a garrison of 50 defenders. The battle lasted 6 hours. She picked up her datapad. Let's begin today's lesson with that engagement. The lights dimmed. The projector activated. Slide 1 appeared on the screen. It was a photograph. A young woman, barely out of her teens, stood in a ruined corridor. Her armor was scorched and dented. Blood, some of it hers, covered her face and hands. She held a rifle in one hand and a combat knife in the other. Behind her, the hallway was stacked with bodies. The cadets stared at the image, then at Kira, then back at the image. "That's you," someone whispered. "Proximus Station years ago," Kira said quietly. "I was 18, fresh out of basic training. It was my first real deployment." She advanced to the next slide. A tactical map. Their Ravagers hit us at 0400 hours. They outnumbered us 60 to 1. They had armor, artillery, and air support. We had small arms, limited ammunition, and no reinforcements for 3 days. Click another image. Alien corpses piled in a choke point. Humans have a saying, youth and skill will always beat age and treachery. But there's another one I prefer. Old age and treachery will always beat youth and skill. She looked at Cadet Throck. I was young. I am jung. But I learned something that day that most species take centuries to understand. Click. A graph showing casualty rates. We held because we were willing to do what the Ravagers weren't. We didn't fight fair. We didn't follow their rules of engagement. We used every dirty trick, every ambush, every psychological terror tactic in a human playbook. Another slide, a timeline of the battle. By hour 2, the Ravagers were afraid to enter enclosed spaces. By hour 4, they were shooting at shadows. By hour 6, the survivors retreated from 50 defenders. She let that sink in. I was 19 when I received the Stellar Cross for Valor. 20 when he became the youngest officer in human military history. 23 now teaching at this academy. She leaned on the podium. So when you ask what combat experience I've, Cadet Throck, the answer is enough to still be alive. The lecture hall, Wassailant. Now, Kira said, advancing to the next slide. Let's discuss why Ravagers made their first tactical error before they even breached the station. Who can tell me what it was? A tentative hand rose, then another. By the end of the lecture, Kira had their complete attention. By the end of the semester, her class had the highest combat simulation scores in Academy history. And by the time those cadets graduated, they understood what the rest of the galaxy was learning. Human lifespans might be short, but they packed a lot of violence into those few decades, especially the young ones.